Ferrari is not just falling behind on the stopwatch, it's unraveling in the eyes of experts. And now even seasoned German pundits are publicly questioning whether the SF25 is a lost cause. During a brutally honest episode of Motorsport Magazine Talk, host Markus Steinrisser didn't hold back. "I said it before the season. If Ferrari changes the front suspension concept, they'll lose their way. And here we are." 6 races in, Ferrari sits behind Mercedes, Red Bull, and a surging McLaren. The constructors' table doesn't lie, and neither does the stopwatch. But the criticism wasn't just about performance, it was about direction. Ferrari promised evolution. What they delivered, according to the panel, was confusion. From pushrod to pull rod suspension, radical design changes, and inconsistent performance in both qualifying and race conditions, nothing seems stable. And the German media now believes that Ferrari's biggest enemy isn't Red Bull or McLaren, it's Ferrari itself. The McLaren comparison was sharp, a car that heats the tires perfectly for one-lap pace and manages degradation like clockwork in race trim. Ferrari, they fail at both. According to experts, Ferrari built a race-focused car but sacrificed so much in qualifying setup that their Sundays are compromised before they even begin. And what's most alarming, the SF25 might be worse when it's raised for ride height, a basic trait that completely undermines setup flexibility. That's not a development issue, that's a design flaw. When a Formula 1 car doesn't behave, it's frustrating. But when the car behaves unpredictably, race after race, it becomes a psychological trap. That's exactly what Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton are facing right now inside the Ferrari garage. And according to the German experts, Ferrari's biggest performance gap isn't measured in tenths, it's measured in trust. Charles Leclerc, usually composed, has reached a breaking point. In Miami, he qualified behind both Williams cars, not because he made a mistake. On the contrary, he said it was one of the best laps I've done this year. But he was still nearly 7 tenths off the pace. That's not a driver issue, that's a concept issue. Lewis Hamilton, meanwhile, is navigating uncharted territory. After years of working with Mercedes engineers who understood every detail of his feedback, he's now constantly restarting. Every setup change feels like a gamble. And during every free practice, he's chasing balance instead of refining it. German pundits pointed out that Hamilton keeps rebuilding the car every weekend, hoping for a breakthrough. But the more he changes, the worse the SF25 responds. One commentator even described it as déjà vu. Just like in his final years at Mercedes, Hamilton senses the car is off and starts improvising. But this time, it's not just a setup misfire, it's Ferrari's entire technical base working against him. Both drivers have spoken publicly about the car's extreme behavior. They're pushing in opposite directions just to stay competitive, and that divergence is fracturing unity inside the garage. While Ferrari spirals into confusion, McLaren is executing a masterclass in modern Formula 1 development, and that contrast is exactly what's fueling the media backlash, especially in Germany, because McLaren isn't just faster, they're consistent, composed, and calculated. And that's everything Ferrari currently is not. After the Miami Grand Prix, the numbers told a brutal story. McLaren finished nearly a full minute ahead of both Ferraris. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris weren't just quicker, they were in a different league. According to insiders, McLaren's ability to find the car's sweet spot on both Saturday and Sunday is what sets them apart. Their car brings the tires into the right window for qualifying, and yet it preserves them during long runs. That balance is what Ferrari can't replicate. The German analysts highlighted how this wasn't about horsepower or straight-line speed, it's about predictability, and McLaren's MCL38 delivers it every lap. Ferrari's SF25, by contrast, reacts erratically to even the smallest setup changes. On some tracks, it shows promise. On others, like Miami, it becomes a liability. And here's the twist. While McLaren is ramping up with new updates and pushing development further, Ferrari is pulling back. Fred Vasseur has already admitted that Imola will only bring a small step and that a real reset won't happen until Barcelona. But the question on everyone's mind is, can they even afford to wait that long? Because in Formula 1, the gap doesn't just widen on track, it widens in mindset. And right now, McLaren believes. Ferrari hesitates. As Ferrari's results falter, so does the faith in leadership. Fred Vasseur entered the 2025 season with a clear mission: restore order, rebuild trust, and push Ferrari back into championship contention. But after 6 races and a string of public frustrations from both drivers, the cracks are no longer hidden, they're growing, and the paddock can see it. After Miami, Vasseur's tone shifted. Instead of projecting urgency, he delivered what many interpreted as resignation. "We have a small step planned for Imola," he said. "No promises, no bold targets, just caution." And for a team as emotionally driven as Ferrari, that kind of language doesn't go unnoticed. Behind the scenes, sources close to the team claimed that both Hamilton and Leclerc were blindsided. Imola, Ferrari's home race, was pitched internally as a turning point, the moment their development plan would begin to pay off. But now, with just minor tweaks expected, the drivers are reportedly frustrated by the lack of decisive action. It's not just about lap time anymore, it's about belief. Charles Leclerc, despite maintaining a professional front, made his disappointment clear. There wasn't much more in the car. That's the reality. Lewis Hamilton, meanwhile, went even further, revealing that he told Vasseur directly to calm down after the race and dismissing the idea that his emotional radio messages were a problem. German media called this a philosophical clash. Vasseur wants time, the drivers want results, and time in Formula One is the most expensive currency you can't buy back. With Vasseur postponing major upgrades to Barcelona, all eyes are now on round 9 of the championship. Because while Imola and Monaco may offer glimpses of improvement, they're no longer seen as opportunities, they're being treated like survival rounds. And Barcelona, that's Ferrari's final gamble. Why? Because that's when the long-awaited reset will arrive. A full aerodynamic update, a revised floor, possibly even a new front wing under the FIA's technical directive targeting flexible components. But here's the catch. While Ferrari is hoping that reset reignites their season, the top teams aren't standing still. McLaren is surging, Mercedes is stabilizing, even Red Bull, amid internal turbulence, continues to score big. Ferrari needs more than a step forward. They need a leap, and if Barcelona doesn't deliver, the consequences could be severe. For Hamilton, this isn't just a technical challenge, it's an emotional test. He left Mercedes, a team that built its identity around him, to start fresh. But if Ferrari continues to fall short, how long before frustration turns into disillusionment? Multiple reports now suggest that Hamilton's patience has a limit. He's already endured 2 years of stagnation at Mercedes. He didn't come to Maranello to repeat the same story in red. Leclerc too is under pressure. Now in his 7th season with Ferrari and still without a title fight to his name, he's watching McLaren overtake while his own team experiments with philosophy instead of performance. Barcelona won't just decide Ferrari's competitiveness, it could define the trust between Vasseur and his drivers. And if that trust breaks, the ripple effect may be felt long beyond 2025. In Maranello, pressure doesn't just come from inside the garage, it roars from outside the factory walls. The Tifosi aren't just fans, they're a force of nature, and right now, they're restless. Italian media, known for their intensity, are already questioning everything, from Vasseur's conservative approach to the car's fundamental design. Headlines have moved from hopeful to harsh, and after Miami, the criticism reached a new peak. Ferrari beaten by Williams wasn't just a statistic, it was an embarrassment. The backlash is building, and it's not just targeting the car, it's targeting the culture. The indecision on race strategy, the lack of adaptation, the communication breakdowns, all of it is being dissected and replayed in primetime news slots. The once protective bubble around Vasseur is beginning to thin. Fast, even the fan base is splintering. In the comment sections, at the track, on social media, a new debate has emerged. On one side, those who blame the car. On the other, those beginning to question whether Leclerc and Hamilton can really coexist at Ferrari. The intra-team tension in Miami, though quickly downplayed, hasn't been forgotten. Hamilton, a global icon with his own legion of followers, is drawing support, but also suspicion. Some fear he may not wait for Ferrari to figure it out. Others believe he's exactly what the team needs to shake off decades of inertia. And then there's Leclerc, once seen as Ferrari's golden child, now stuck defending a project that's failing him again. He's not just racing for results anymore, he's racing to prove he still believes. Imola is next, the team's home ground, a temple of scarlet passion. And if Ferrari doesn't show signs of life there, the noise won't fade, it'll erupt. Imola isn't just another race, it's sacred ground for Ferrari. A place where triumphs are remembered and failures are never forgotten. This is where the real test begins, because if even here, with the home crowd roaring, the team still falters, what does that say about the rest of the season? What does it say about the vision, the leadership, the belief? For Lewis Hamilton, Imola could mark a turning point. He came to Ferrari not to collect points, but to make history, to become the man who brought the prancing horse back to glory. But every race that ends with him stuck behind a Williams or stranded in strategy chaos chips away at that dream. And for Charles Leclerc, it's about more than pace. It's about legacy. He's poured his prime years into this team. And now, with the eyes of the world watching, he needs to prove that loyalty still has value in Formula One. Fred Vassar says the real reset is coming in Barcelona. But what if Imola delivers more of the same? What if the upgrades underdeliver and the performance window stays closed? Then it won't just be a technical issue, it will be existential. Because patience in F1 isn't infinite, especially when your car is fourth fastest and your drivers are running out of time. So we leave you with this question: has Ferrari already lost the season before the European stretch has even begun? Or is Imola the spark that reignites the fire? Let us know in the comments below. Do you still believe Ferrari can turn it around with Hamilton and Leclerc leading the charge? Or are we watching history repeat itself once again? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for more in-depth Formula One coverage. Because here at F1 Prime News, we tell the story behind the standings.